Okay, guys. So we are approaching towards the end of the semester, and I see some unfamiliar faces. Okay, today we're going to spend about maybe 30-35 minutes to complete the talk on the 7 habits. Then we'll spend about, hopefully no more than an hour, maybe 40 minutes, to go through our logistics for your final presentation, and we'll show you what kind of evaluations you're going to use to evaluate your peers. And we're going to answer any question about your final or presentation. And we'll use the last maybe 5 minutes to brainstorm. Can this class be changed or better or modified or hopefully it does provide some value. And then next time we meet, and the week afterwards is all presentation. Okay, so that's our plan. Is that okay? So let me quickly go through. So that's our agenda. We'll follow that as closely as possible. So. 2 weeks ago, we covered the first 3 of the 7 habits of highly effective people. And I don't know if you remember what's the first few. No, I'm not going to test you. So we talked about be proactive. Number 1, right? If you want something, you have to do it. And I just talked to a graduate student. He's trying to put a graduate capstone together. He wants to create a new language learning system that's going to change the world. Then I asked him, that sounds good, but what do you need to do tomorrow to start? He looked at me and said, so often the be proactive also means that even you have a dream, you need to be specific. That's why, remember I talked about the vision. I mean, if you want something, a vision or something, a goal that's so vivid, you can close your eye and see it. Then that will guide you to be more proactive. Otherwise, you have a kind of a vague, big dream that actually paralyzes you because you don't know where to start. And so if you have a goal, if you want to be proactive, the goal needs to be specific and you can see it. Begin with end in mind. It's a habit. Again, I couldn't emphasize more, these are habits, not just knowledge. You need to do that automatically. So whenever you do, you want to think about what's the goal? What's the goal? For example, this class, this CST300, there is a kind of big goal, right? There's a sub-outcome, but the goal is for you to really know the degree. You can still choose different degree in different classes. For you to know the faculty, know their field, you have a clear plan for your ILP, and for you to have some kind of general understanding of how the field works and how our alumni is working on out there. It's all, including something like this, give you kind of my sense of what it takes to be a successful student and successful professional. So those are the goals. Whenever you do, you always keep that kind of the big goal in mind. First thing first. We all want to do many, many things. The important thing, if you don't do it first, you won't have time to do it after you put in time into those trivial but enjoyable things. The big thing is your health, your study, your relationship, your planning for your career. Right? These are the big things. Then there are other party, girlfriend, other things. Those are not as important at this point. Okay, so we're going to cover the last 4. I'm going to go through fairly quickly. Oh, so this one, there are a lot of smart kids like you. There are certain habits you have that you probably know is wrong, It's, people keep telling you that's wrong, but you just don't want to change it. For example, I don't know. So can someone give an example of a bad habit you know it's wrong, but you just keep doing it? Anyone? Sorry? Procrastination. That's actually, that is often a symptom of a highly intelligent people, because you know all the pitfalls and you couldn't just do it, because everyone has that problem. Procrastination is one of them. We know if you keep doing that, you won't be proactive, you won't be able to make the first step. So that's one fatal, and we need to overcome that. What other bad habit? Let me give you a lot of students, they don't think being on time is not important. They will come in, you know, like I did, coming 3 minutes late. That's bad. Being on time, show up, often is part of the work, right? Often the job or the class, 50% of it is useless. But if you're not there on time, you don't know which percent, 50% are more important. So how do you overcome procrastination? Do it. This is what I taught my daughter. She's a little bit younger than you are. She's smart, right? And I asked her, what's your plan tomorrow? She needs to practice the swimming and piano and study all that. I said, do you have a plan? You know, when do you want to do it? I said, she will say, oh, I will do it. I always finish. But when time comes, there's too many things for her to do. She often picked the one that's more enjoyable, the easier, and at the end of the day, she couldn't do the hard one. So one simple way, remember that most of you got the grading of your calendar, although I cannot go to your home and look at 10 o'clock p.m. to see if you actually studied or not. But I really want to force you to think about putting something in writing for yourself. When you say you want to put 2 hours of study for that book sometime next week, go to your calendar and block that 2 hours. Okay? Because when you get busier, when you get older, there are more things you can take care of. So one way to stop the procrastination is when your mind is still clear, you go to the next week or the time you say you want to study, you block the hour and make your weaker self be a slave of your stronger self. Right? So when you are clear, you say, well, I really want to do that. You put a timing, you send in an application for graduate school, or you start the investment, but you're putting the time and the actual time. So when your iPhone or your phone rings, say, in 10 minutes you need to study, I don't know, what's the book on your desk? Creating killer websites. And you will do that. So then, once you get to the habit of following your own decision, it's much harder for you to say, I can do that all the time. If you really couldn't do that in 2 hours, what do? You move that 2 hour block to sometime in the future. And you always know that the time comes, you already allocate time to do that. So that's a simple tool. Write it down, actually block the time, make an appointment with yourself, and be on time to that appointment. Okay? So that's some of the bad habits we know we have to overcome. This simple story we talked about last time is, there is something you cannot change. If you keep procrastinating or you couldn't show up on time, you will hit that lighthouse, right? So now I want to go to, so we talked about the 3 habits you have to become a successful individual. The next 3 things is, well, we all working in the industry, especially your profession. You are going to work with a team. And you, sooner or later, you will be asked to lead a team. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. If you want to, there's a lot of opportunity for you to kind of climb the rank and become a manager or executive or lead a whole organization. So what do you do to make sure you have the habit for you to be successful moving up the scale, the ladder? Hard for young people, okay? A lot of young guys like you or my kid, the concept of win is the other guy lose, right? No, in the business, in the society, it doesn't work that way. whenever you come together in a negotiation or conversation, the real winning is both sides leave the room happy. Both sides see they gain something in that collaboration or in that negotiation. So there are solutions that I will gain more, you'll lose, or the other way. But they are innovative solutions that both sides will leave the room happy. Okay? So the book, the 7 Habits talk about is win-win, or we don't do it. If you have a solution that one side obviously lose, it's probably not the best option. So whenever you work with other people, you think about how do I make sure we leave this collaboration or job or work, both sides win something. It might not be the thing we wanted, but each side gains something from that collaboration. Okay? Make sure you think about that.
Let's need to rest so we need to teacher.
So what in your mind, whenever you go into a negotiation with a difficult situation, the idea you have in your mind is that win-win or no deal. Unless each side is happy with it, we don't move forward. The habit number 5 is to understand first. So that little kind of interesting formula is that if you want to have win-win, that people want to work with you, you need to do the L times H. That means the H is you understand the other side, and L is that the other side understand you. So if one of them is 0, if one of the L and H is 0, what does that mean?
No win.
There's no win, right? So if you don't understand the other side, or the other side doesn't understand your point, there's no win-win because you don't know what the other side wants. So the habit is first understand, first listen and understand the other side. Your employee, your employer, your company, your competitor. Then to be understood. Okay? And so often when you are starting a new job, for example, from your brain is that I just want a job. But you have to think about why does the company want to hire you? Right? Because you provide a solution, because you have a skill they are needed, or they see a potential in you that one day you can lead the company. Right? So you have, if you know what do they really want, and you know what you want, and they know what you want, then that negotiation or interview will come out win-win. The win-win could be you got the job, they got the perfect candidate, or the solution is that you find out you don't like the job, and they find out you are not a good fit, so you move on to another opportunity. So make sure when you talk to anyone, you kind of open your mind and understand the other side first. Then you can tell the other side your story. So 4 tips to understand other people is when you listen, don't come to a conclusion too fast. Do not criticize, condemn, or complain. These are value judgments. Right? You can ask questions. You say, I'm not sure about that point. Can you explain more? But you don't want to criticize, condemn, or complain. Express sincere appreciation. Even the other guy doesn't agree with you. You need to let the other guy know you appreciate his time or her time talking to you. Even if they decide not to hire you, right? Or if they decide not to follow your idea. Give them the emotional air and learn their story. What does that mean? You let them have a space to tell you not only their factual, but also let them express their emotions. They are nervous, they like this negotiation, they are anxious to accomplish something. So give them some space for that emotion to come out. And really understand why are they coming here? Why are they talking? So when you're talking to someone, how do you know they are listening? Aaron?
Eye contact.
Eye contact. Good. Or they nod their head.
Yeah.
They ask meaningful questions. Most of you know that. You just have to practice. This is number 6. Let me see someone sleeping. Paloma, can you read the story for us?
Animal school. Once upon a time, the animals decided they must do something heroic to meet the problems of a new world.
Voice. That's good. Go ahead.
So they organized a school. They adopted an activity curriculum consisting of running, climbing, swimming, and flying. To make it easier to administer, all the animals took all the subjects. In the end, the duck's webbed feet were so badly worn that he couldn't swim. The rabbit had a nervous breakdown and couldn't run. The eagle was disciplined severely for getting to the top of the tree without climbing. And an abnormal eel ended up doing best overall and winning valedictorian.
So what does that story tell us?
Not everyone is built to do every single thing.
That very few people, almost no one, are built to do everything. What do you think?
Oh, for me?
Yes.
I was going to say communism.
I'm not sure. If, well, we're not going there. So if you look at a lot of major companies, major successful, Apple, Microsoft, this nation, most of the major effort are done by a group. Even they have a strong leader. Okay? And you don't have to like your partner, but more, almost in all situations, you need to have a strong partner that complements your skill and your personality. If you are outgoing, kind of passionate, you can talk down the whole room, but you don't want to deal with numbers, then you might need a partner that actually look at your accounting and say, no, we're not going to go into that business, you're going to lose money. Right? Or you are very detail-oriented, you can design the best 3D games, but you don't know how to present it in the screen to make it enjoyable for the users. Right? So that's why we put kind of the CV and CST on the same roof, because it does use two different sides of the brain, but they have to collaborate. So in a team, you have to open your mind and try to attract people complement your skill. Okay, you might not like them. They are business group that they really don't like each other, but they bounce the idea. The dynamic between their tension actually creates the business opportunity. If you look at the big company, you can look at all their history. They all have kind of a dual or three-person team that complement each other. And often, they find their partner where? In school, in university, in grad school. So they are not that different from you or me, right? They choose a different path. So the reason why we want you to kind of build a team or know more people in this is that one of the people you work with and you really, really hate today, it might be your partner to build that big enterprise. So keep that in mind. So this is a kind of simple way to kind of analyze yourself. These are called, let's see, here, this one. This is really a Myers-Briggs personality. So if you look for that online, you can do about 10 minutes tests, and it will give you 4 letters, and the 4 letters will identify you as one of these people. Okay? And the interesting thing, it changes as you grow up. So if you are a particular personality when you are 15, you might be quite different when you are 30. So I think I did one a few years ago. This is for our graduate school. I force every student to do that. For undergraduate, so That's me, ENTJ. Let me see. Rational, intuitive thinking.
You're a full marshal.
I'm not sure. Well, probably not.
Very rational.
I think I am. So this is a more objective way to know yourself. So our company, when you go in and have an interview, they will test you using something like this, right? They want to make sure that your whole persona fit into the job they are looking for. So you might want to know a little bit about yourself. The idea is that you want to look for someone that has a totally different letters, and that's how we comfortable with your person. I don't know if it worked for marriage, but I know it's probably worked for business partner. Okay, let's summarize this. So-called public victory, that means you can influence other people and build a team together. You need, whenever you sit down or work with someone, make sure the other one wins something in that interaction. Understand. Try to understand not only the words, try to understand your opponent or your partner, their personality, what do they, when you go to a negotiation or when you go to a job interview, think about what do they want so you can achieve the win-win. So really understand, that means don't criticize, listen first before you express your idea. Synergize, meaning if you want to achieve something big, if you want to lead a team of people, there will be people very different from you. You might not like them, or hopefully you like them. But that's the benefit. Right? Very few of us have all the skill and all the personality needed to be successful to achieve a big success. So think about how do you build a team that not everyone look like you or talk like you. Someone is very different. And you need to be comfortable talking and working with that. And that's a great thing about the United States. The diversity and the kind of different talent here are celebrated, right? If you go to, say, Japan or China, especially Japan, the homogeneous in a classroom is shocking. All of them look very smart. They react to the teacher in a similar way. That's why innovation is very difficult for that culture, because everyone tries to conform. But in the United States, everyone tries to be different. So that's a great thing. That's why if you look at the past 100 years, it's surprising how many, almost all the major innovations are done in the United States. I don't think it's a fluke. It's because the culture encouraged that diversity and collaboration. Okay? Maybe you're too young to think about 100 years. So what are the major things happened, invented over the last 100 years? The major thing that changed our life. The internet, right? It's done actually in California between, I think, a lab here and UCLA. That's the first internet communication. What else?
Cellular phone.
Cellular phone, yeah, it's by Motorola.
Remember the brick phone?
That's right, the big one. What else? How about airplane? Well, that's more than 100 years, but it's invented here, right? Computer, that's right, of course, computer. So almost everything we touch upon today that really changed the kind of globalized world is invented here. It's surprising. Thinking about GPS, that really changed at least my driving, right? You know how, where is it done? Was the first concept is in Johns Hopkins in Maryland. In the 60s, when the Soviet Union put the first satellite up, people are so nervous, and the satellite continued to every second send out a signal to the planet, to Earth, and identify where is it. The two physics young professor in the Johns Hopkins, they said, wait, well that's scary, right? Soviet Union is putting a satellite above our head, but if we know our position, we can predict when the satellite comes next time because it's in the circle. But the reverse is that if we know precisely where is the satellite, then we can know where we are. Then that becomes the whole GPS. So when you have a little GPS device, it tries to identify 3 satellites. And because you know exactly where are they, you can triangulate and decide where you are to about 10 feet. So I just want to tell you that this is not something that's just invented by the book. It has a real evidence in the United States, especially someone like me. I was educated before college in a different country, so I can definitely see the strength of the diverse group here. But the last one is, okay, in order to do all these things well, you need to make sure you are ready to take on these habits, right? So, like a good athlete, if you are healthy, your lung, your muscle, your circulation are all good, it doesn't matter which sport you do, you usually are pretty good at it. So how do you make sure you are ready to do all this? The book says, well, that's example, the sharpen the saw is that if you have a good tools, then everything becomes easier. So these things you need to build that into your daily routine. Okay? When you are young, your metabolism is up, so you don't exercise for 2 weeks, you don't feel anything. But now it's time and you probably need to do that. So what's the recommendation that how much exercise you have to do minimally a week? Anyone? Anyone taking wellness classes? What's your recommendation? 30 minutes a day, that's about right. I think what I heard is that 45 minutes 3 times a week. Okay, that's minimum. Okay, that's minimum. And you need to exercise to a degree that you cannot conduct a typical conversation. If you can still chatting on your phone, you're not exercising. You need to have that stress to make that exercise work. Okay? Your emotional, social security and peacefulness is important. So that means your relationship with your friends, your family, you provide service to someone else, like a service learning, although most people will hate it, but it will help you in the long term because you feel you are helping others. You need to continue to read. You plan for the future so you know, a year from now or 5 years from now, at least you know what you project to be. Some people really like writing as a way to express their own emotional and get the peace. And I do that. I keep a kind of useless blog. So I do reading probably not a lot. I've been a bit busy, but I try to do reading at least 1 hour per night. It's surprising how far you can go in just 1 hour. So I read about 20-30 pages per night, and for 5 nights. So that means I can go through a book, a good book, in kind of heavy book in about 2 to 3 weeks. That means I go through about 30 good books in a year, and it adds up. You can watch TV or you can read magazines, but those are kind of too scattered information. You want to pick maybe 10, 20 good books, and you only spend about an hour a day, and you can go through the books in a year. And over the 10 years, you probably read through all the important books. And so if you are not putting a couple hours a week, at least, I would recommend at least, like you said, half an hour exercise every day, and about reading. The reading hopefully is broad. I mean, in addition to the textbook. So these will guide you far. And at the end of the day, you have to find this yourself. Okay? If you are a religious person, it's actually easier because they are kind of, the whole system supports you to have a value and people are there to kind of congratulate you if you achieve something. If you're not religious, it's harder but it could be done. You need to find something you feel so important you can always work on. Okay. I mentioned that I keep searching for years, right? I tried to be a Christian. I tried for 3 years. I went there with my girlfriend. She's very religious. I went there every Sunday for 3 years, and I have to say goodbye to her and God together. So I'm not. So, but I keep searching, and until my late 30s, I decided because there's no sign, on the sky telling me, say, knowledge, service, and experience. I always want to see that. That's my value, and I'll continue to gain knowledge. I want to provide service to people around me, and I want to experience something unique every year. So you have to decide. So those will be guiding light. So the teaching here is that if you do these things well, then you are much more efficient to do the other 6 habits. Okay? So these are your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. So if you are not doing this, the other one you still can do. It's just hard. It just takes a lot of effort. So before we conclude this, I want to come back to this thing again, over and over. So this is not just a knowledge. You need to develop a habit, meaning you put this thing into practice and do it how many times? 1,000 times between now and you graduate. Also, hopefully 3 years. You put it into every week or every day. You do it for 2-3 years. And you're set because you don't have to think about it. You know, when you sit down with someone, you always think about understand the other side. When you start a project or a meeting, you know what's the goal. And when you put your weekly exercise, you know you want to put in some weekly schedule. You know you want to put in some exercise time, or reflection time, or reading time. So when these things become your second nature, I can guarantee you'll be successful. Okay? It's not easy, especially the habit part. I mean, you have to do it automatically. So this kind of gives us a warning that if you don't do the 7 habits, what's the symptom of you don't do them, right? So if you are proactive, that's great. If you are not proactive, you're thinking about, okay, I'm just not lucky enough. Everyone else just put their hardship in front of me. It's all their fault. But you can solve it. We would like to begin with an end in mind. If you don't do that, well, you just kind of go out there and flow with the wind and see what happens. And usually that doesn't end up well. You want to prioritize, do the first thing first, okay? And the other side is live for the moment. So that's the constant conflict between me and my family when we go out for a trip. I'm the one who wants to kind of schedule to the minute. I want to know that 4 p.m. on the Saturday afternoon we're going to get the gasoline in that intersection, and they look at me and say, I thought we are on a vacation. But it's a different personality. But I usually put the things into detail. I wasn't like that at all when I was in college. I'm an evidence that people can change. I was definitely living in the moment that my GPA was less than 2.5 when I was in college. It was terrible. It was terrible. Okay, think win-win. If you think win-lose, people will run away from you because they know you're too tough, you're too good. Every time they work with you, you gain something from them, they lose something. But you want to change it. You want people to say, I want to work with Tara because every time I work with her, I learn something and she can help me to gain what I want to learn. So you want to think about win-win. Most people will like to do that. You know, I have something to say, then I will let you talk. That is wrong. That's a bad habit. First seek to understand, then to be understood. This one is hard for smart people that are pretty good at what they're doing. They believe they can do everything, but they will be not. People will say, I would better work alone, collaborating means I lose. You know, they just want to work by themselves. Every time they put in a group, they feel they carry the whole group. But to achieve big things, you need a group, especially work a group with people that doesn't talk and work and feel like you. You need to find people who synergize with you. You want to keep your mental, your physical, your spiritual health, so it's easier for you to do everything else. So, my recommendation for this, you download this file and go over it in some detail. Then, I'm not going to force you to do that, but you go through all the exercises if you can improve. If not, you go back today and do it again. Okay, and if you are successful or you have a question, call your faculty or call me. So that's that. Question? Comments? Let's look at okay, so there's an interesting website. If you're on your computer, you can go to the website. It shows you the before, well, we're switching gear. The 7 habits is done, okay? We're going to look at some sample of good PowerPoint and bad ones. Many of my PowerPoint are pretty bad. So look at the good ones. Okay, let's go to the website. Okay, so it has the same information on 2 slides. Which one is better? The one on the right, white. That's right, it's easier to see, right? To remember, especially people on the communication design, you are in a degree to enhance communication. You are not in a degree to show off your graphic design skills. Okay, those are important, but the goal is communicating. The goal is not to come to my website to see my happy, great graphics. No, people don't want to do that. They want to communicate. Right? So that's an example. Same concept, right? So if you compare the 2 slides, can someone give me an obvious improvement between the 2 slides?
Condensed information.
Sorry?
They condense the information. There's too much information in the top one.
That's right. The one on the left, people cannot read the detail. And if they do read it, they will lose you as a presenter, right? On the right, they will spend maybe 10 seconds to get the basic information. On the left, they probably will have to read it for a minute. Okay. So fewer words, clear picture, less jargon. But you can all see that, right? The one on the lower right is better. Right?
Also more appetizing.
That's right.
Makes you want to be less.
So that's the same idea. So that's a good example. Right? This one has a lot more emotional impact and make it simpler. and the two photo on the upper one, pretty much the same thing. Right? It just shows you can put two photos on the slide, which doesn't help you.
Also, I would consider that top of two different bullets.
That's right.
Well, it's actually one basically a combination of that.
That's good. Okay. So the one on the top is the video of the slide I did. So that's good. So especially if you are going to engage the audience with an emotional message, you need to have a big picture, few words. Okay? If you are really presenting a financial analysis, then sometimes you might have to use one number. And try to avoid it as much as possible. Okay. So that's a good site where you compare, before and after. So if you have time, I would recommend you go through a few slides. So the reason why I want to show you this is that I will recommend when you evaluate other teams' presentation, you will look at their slide and say, this needs improvement, right? So you know the good and bad. So when I was in my early 20s, I was a software engineer. I was doing okay, and I worked with just one or two other team members. Then my company sent me to the board meeting reporting a new product. I was so scared. The board is a bunch of about 10 very old people, and I really don't know how to present to them. So I asked my supervisor at that time, so how do I improve my speaking and presentation skills? So they recommend me to Toastmaster International. How many people have heard about Toastmaster? Good, about 20%. How many people have participated in Toastmaster? You should, after you graduate, okay? That's a good networking place. They meet probably once a week or once every other week, about an hour, and they will assign you to speak once a month for a year. And it's 10 topics. The first one is introduce yourself. Then it becomes harder and harder, right? Then they want you to use prop. They want you to use different words. They want you to watch your tone. They want you to watch the unnecessary words. And the 10th one is the most difficult one, is telling jokes for 10 minutes. So you have to do that. So I went through that. I really enjoyed it. It's eye-opening for me. So something after you graduate, if you're thinking about saying, I really want to sharpen my presentation skills, that's a good organization. I think the due is like $50 a year. It's really nothing. And you meet a lot of people. They all want to better themselves. And it's a very low pressure. So it doesn't matter how bad you are. They always find something to praise you. So that's really encouraging. So something you should consider. Okay, so this in Toastmaster International, they published this 10 tips. So I'm going to ask the people sitting in the very last row, starting from Zeke. Zeke, can you read the first tip of public speaking for us?
Yeah. Know your material. Pick a topic you're interested in. Know more about it than you include in your speech. Use humor, personal stories, and conversational language. The way you wouldn't easily forget what to say.
Okay. The important thing is people, we are biologically designed to be attracted to stories. Okay? If you want to tell a set of numbers, very few people are interested. If you're going to tell a story, people say, I'm interested. We are all biologically attracted to stories. So instead of telling kind of generic, abstract facts, you tell stories. It's a lot more interesting to the audience. Okay, Leanne?
Practice. Rehearse out loud all the equipment you plan on using. Revise if necessary. Work to control filler words. Practice pauses and repeat. Practice with the timer and allow the time to be unexpected.
What's the filler words? Like my 15-year-old daughter, she will say 10 sentences and each one have a like in it. And that would just drive me crazy. Try to reduce that. It's not necessary. Like, basically, there's about 10 people always make. A few is okay, but if you continue to use those, people will get irritated. So control those unnecessary words. If you go to Toastmaster meeting, every meeting about 20 people there, they assign a person count every unnecessary words. At the end of the meeting, they will do a tally, say, this person did 5 2 basic, and you really be aware of the unnecessary words. Okay. Practice.
Know the audience. Greet some of the audience members as they arrive. It's easier to speak to a group of friends than strangers.
So if you have a familiar faces in the audience, it's better. So know your audience. So kind of know why are they there, right? So this group, when you listen to the presentation, why are you here? Because you have to, right? So you better make it interesting. They are here to learn a little bit about that subject, right? Someone going to do 3D printing, that's really interesting. So they are here to get the basic about that technology, but they are here because they have to. So make it interesting.
Know the room. Arrive early, walk around the speaking area, and practice using a microphone at any visual aids.
So if you are a professional speaker, then usually you don't have to worry about it. Someone going to take care of it for you. But most of us will be invited to a very casual guest speaker or a group of community members. You should know the room. Is it noisy? Does it have a projector? Is it light? Do you have a microphone? Do you have an easel with something you can write on? Really know it before you go. So I usually, if someone asks me to talk, I have to ask, how many people will be there? Is it AV there? Is there a projector there? Is the internet there? And I will ask a little bit about the audience background. You know, are they students? Are they faculty member? Are they business professional? Are they come voluntarily, or this is kind of captive? The company forced them to come. So I would know all that before I go.
Relax. Begin by addressing the audience. Advise you time and calms your nerves. Pause, smile, and count to 3 before saying anything. 1 1,000. 2 1,000. 3 1,000. Pause, begin. Transform nervous energy into enthusiasm.
That's good. I like your voice. Good. Next.
Visualize giving your speech. Imagine yourself speaking, your voice loud, clear, and confident. Visualize the audience clapping. It will boost your confidence.
So before when you prepare, you already have a mental image. Think of a great speaker you want to model from, and put yourself in there and visualize what he or she does. That would help you. Next.
Realize that people want you to succeed. Audiences want you to begin your sentence stimulating, informative, and entertaining. They are rewarding.
They want you to be successful. Okay, so they are not your enemy. So you should feel you don't have to be that nervous. Next.
Don't apologize for any nervousness or problem. The audience probably never knows.
many people always start their talk by apologizing something. That's useless. You put the best in front of them, the audience, and you deliver. Apologize doesn't add anything to it. Good. Next.
Concentrate on the message, not the medium. Focus your attention away from your own anxieties and concentrate on your message and your audience.
So one kind of technique is, I mentioned that, look at the audience and especially a friendly face as if you're talking to your younger brother. Right? Then your nervousness will come down and the emotional engagement is going there. Otherwise, you look at the audience as a kind of big, scary mob, then you turn into just reading your script, try to get over it. And that would be a communication opportunity you lost. Last one.
Gain experience. Many of your speech should be mainly your speech should represent you as an authority and as a person. Experience builds confidence, which is the key to effective speaking. A Toastmaster club can provide the experience you need in a safe and friendly environment.
And of course, they want to do some advertising. Let me do a little advertising around ourselves. So typically, I see students here beginning in this class, and your presentation usually here are okay. Some of them are good. Some of them is people just want to get over it. But towards the end, in about 3 semesters, 4 semesters, when you do your capstone, I really see the difference. Over the classes, you do many of the presentation, and you work on that project instead of a couple weeks. You work on the capstone for sometime over a year, and I can see people really make progress towards the presentation. And that will be a major stepping stone for you to be successful in your profession. Even our profession is technology or design or you're doing your work, able to communicate clearly with confidence to a large crowd is crucial. It's crucial for you to do that. Good. And we do, I think, around Mondrian area, I think there are 3 or 4 Toastmaster Club. One of them meet in Black Bear in Seaside. So, it's very interesting. Okay, so let's finish today with this, the logistics. Next Thursday and the Thursday afterwards is all dedicated to student presentation. I'm going to record them. I'm not going to put it on the internet. I'm going to just use them for our own documentation for me to grade you. So let's decide the order. The next one is that the team 1, if you have a face-to-face presentation, you'll go first. Then 2 and 3 and 4. Or we can decide, you can pick, you want to be early, just get the pain over earlier, or you want to have more time to prepare. So how many people like to pick your own time? About a quarter. How many people that just follow the team number and it's pretty obvious? Okay, so we will follow the order. We'll follow the order. That means the middle one. Yeah, 2 presentations. Yeah, I don't think we can focus them all in 1 meeting. So I think there will be probably about 10 presentations. And actually, I need to do a tally. Maybe there are more online, so maybe we can get through everyone in 1 session. Because you have about 12 minutes, so in next week we can go through up to maybe about 19. So maybe you only have 9 face-to-face. Could I go through the list? Well, yeah, we don't have that in order. So let me just do a quick one. some team has to do both, right? So team 1, is it in class?
Do we get to choose?
There's no team 1?
No, we're team 1.
So you're doing both, okay? Good. Team 2? Both. Team 3? Look, if your team is more than 4 people, you have to do both. Team 3? Both. Good. Team 4? Online. Team 5? Both. Team 6? Team 7? Team 8? Team 9? Team 10? 10? You know it's a couple number, it doesn't have a team, they dissolve into other teams. No, team 10? Both. Team 11? Team 12? Team 12? Both? Team 13? I don't think we have 13. Yeah, I think that one is worthy to Team 14? Both. And I think the last one is Team 15. So good. Well, it's only one that's doing only good. Team 16. That's 16? 16, both. I mean, there is no team 17. There's no 17, right? Good. There is no team 16. Okay, so our plan is simple. We will do up to 9. This is December 3rd. Wait, 3rd? No, it's 6. And from team on to 16, your time is on the 13th. Okay, so that's the schedule. But question?
And do we need to have our presentation or video uploaded by a certain date?
We'll talk about that. So when team 1 presenting, team 16 need to evaluate them. I'll show you the evaluation form. Okay? So when team 1 is done, you evaluate the next one. So when you are done, when you go back to your seat, you listen carefully and try to criticize, try to evaluate the next team. So whenever you finish yours, you evaluate the next team. And of course, this, the 16 one, you don't have anyone to evaluate after, so that's why we evaluate team number 1. Is that clear? And so again, the presentation schedule is the same time next week and the week afterwards. We'll try to get everything, 18, we'll try to get everything done in about 90 minutes. Okay? So I will sit there. I will have an iPad with the time up to 10 minutes. So the idea is that in 9 minutes it will ring once, 10 minutes it will ring another time, 11 minutes I will ask you to stop. And we have at least 1 minute of question and answers. And if there's no question from the audience, I will ask questions. But I will suggest you ask more questions. Your YouTube link is due on the 13th. So when you come here for your for the last presentation that day, I'll make it midnight. You need to have the video uploaded and send me a link. If you can do it earlier, that's better. Okay. And then you have 2 days to look at randomly. You can pick any 2 YouTube videos. You need to provide some critique, both on your learning journal and on that YouTube, right? On the YouTube, you can comment. The YouTube comment is only, I think, maybe 100 some words. So you need to do it both sides. Let me show you. I will go to that detail again. So I will give a little bit of extra credit. We have 16 teams. That means I will give extra credit to 4. That has the highest views by the time semester ends, which is probably like 20 years. So either you can go to a lab and click on every computer, or get your friends. So I don't know. It's just a little bit of incentive. Okay. If you're not on the top 25%, it's because you go a little deeper than normal. Don't worry about it. But there's an incentive for you to review more. Question?
How are you going to know, like, when we read a comment on the YouTube video, that it's us?
I'm sorry?
When we read a comment on the YouTube video, how are you going to know that it's actually us?
I'm going to look for your blog. It should have similar idea than your YouTube video. Okay, let me show you. That's a good question.